What are we going to get into today? Well, I get a lot of questions about bottles and labels, so I thought it'd be interesting to have a little discussion about bottles and labels. I wanted to relay some of the information I found out or what I do that works well for me, and hopefully it might help you out. Okay, but first things first, welcome to Stillworks and Brewing. My name is Randy, and this is a channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. All right, let's get started. Okay, so we work with all kinds of bottles. So what kind of bottles do we work with? We work with mason jars, new bottles, used bottles, right? So let's check some of them out. Okay, first you got, hey, we all use mason jars. That's just the standard mason jar. You got the wide mouth mason jar. That's one thing. It's had a lot of moonshine put in them over the years. The next thing we use is, and I got some here. Sometimes people will buy new whiskey bottles. To me, that's a whiskey bottle. I bought a few cases of them years ago, and I just keep reusing them over and over. I mean, they're great jars. I like these kind of jars for storing your liquor after it's been bottled. You know, after you bottle it, it's stored for a very long time, and it looks great. It's fun to give away. All right, so. But one thing I do use a lot of is used whiskey bottles. I save used whiskey bottles. Yeah, that's a good looking bottle. And it can be used many, many times. You know, and they come in all different shapes and sizes, right? Some of them have imprints in the glass, some don't. The only downfall to a whiskey bottle is cleaning them up and getting rid of the old label. I have found if you take that bottle with the old label and you soak it in water for a little while, you can take off. I got a razor scraper. After it's soaked, you scrape it off. Use a little Dawn liquid detergent. And that will, if the glue sticks to the glass, that will help get some of that glue off. So that works out pretty good. And then I bought this somewhere, and this is great for round bottles. It's curved, like a razor blade curve, and it helps scratch off. Okay, so that works out very well. And yeah, you clean them up, they work just fine. And I ain't quite sure what kind of these square ones, they were one of my favorites that I've used, okay? All right, bottles. And I guess after we talk about the bottles, like I said, that's the all the different bottles. One thing you want to do to help clean them up too is, hey, bottle brushes. You can really get that in there, clean them bottles out with a bottle brush. And I just get these off of Amazon. They're all different shapes and sizes and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, let's talk about closures. Lids, corks, whatever you would want to call them. All right, we're going to start off with the mason jars. I got some examples here. You got your standard two-piece for the sizes you need. All right, they're always used. Been used for many, many years. Then you got special pouring lids for your mason jars. That works out great. I even have some with a lid on there, like a cocktail shaker for mason jars. And then you got the one-piece lids. I kind of found these. If you get any sugar in that thread around the jar, you could have a heck of a time getting these off. So that's the only bad thing about these, but overall I do like them. All right, so that's the mason jars. All right, so now with your regular whiskey bottles, I like to use, they use what they call is T-tops, right? They can be synthetic, that's a cork. There's a synthetic. They could be one or the other. I like the synthetic a little bit better. I just think they fit a little bit better. The cork seems to dry out a little bit, and then they lose diameter. All right. So, and they can have plastic tops. They can have wooden tops. They're all different kinds of corks that you can have. All right. Now, properly to size a cork for your bottle, the cork should be 1 to 1.5 millimeter larger than your bottle. Right? You want to go in snug, but you don't want to have to hammer it in. But you don't want it to. You don't want that either. It kind of leak, wouldn't it? All right. Woo. I mean, most of the popper sizes are 19 millimeter, 19.5 millimeter, 20, 20.5 millimeter, 21.5 millimeter, 22.5 millimeter. So it all depends on the bottles you got. There's a wide range of corks out there. All right. So that is bottles. That is bottles. It's not rocket science. I just love my something I worked so hard on to make a great bourbon. I want it in a really neat bottle. All right. All right. So that is bottles. Now the next one, this one is really interesting to me, is labels. But first, there's something you can really do for us. Hey, there is 5 things that you can really do to help this channel out and help us grow. You could do one of them, you could do all of them. It's all appreciated, and they are: hit that subscribe button down there, and I believe it's on that side. Hit that notification bell so when we come out with something new, you're notified. Share us with your friends. Get the word out. And a real big one is give a thumbs up. Right? That is a really big one. And please comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right. Now, let's get started with the labels. All right, let's talk labels. And I have said it in the past. And what have I said? You will think that you're going to remember what it is in that bottle, but you won't. Trust me, you won't. So what should be on the label? Well, like I said, it depends on what stage you're in is what you need on that label. So say you got something in the fermenter, all right? What do you need on the label on that fermenter? Well, you need what it is, right? So you need what it is, what day or what the date is that you started it, and of course the SG. Remember, we've always talked about starting gravity reading. That is a great place to put it on there so you don't forget it. Very important information. And you could also put, if you take a pH reading, you could write that on there. And so that's what would be on the fermenter. All right, and then we'll go at what labels to use. We'll do that in a little bit, all right? All right, so that's fermentation. All right, on aging, all right, you put it in however you're aging. If you're putting it in a barrel, if you're putting it in a mixing jar with oak chips, whatever you are doing, is it aging, okay? So, of course, you got to know what it is. Is it a bourbon? Is it a rum? Is it whatever the case may be? You got to put down the date that you started to age, just so you know. All right, you fermented it, you distilled it, you put it in, like I said, a barrel or whatever the case may be, and you want to make sure you have the date that it was started. All right, and you want to know the starting ABV, right? A lot of times people want to put in a barrel, they want to put 140 or 130 proof into a barrel. Well, put it down so you know. And you might also want to put down other information, like what kind of wood. Is it in wood chips? Is it different kind of wood chips? Is whatever the case may be, so you don't forget. Hey, memory is short-lived. All right, so that's what you want to do on aging. All All right, so now is the fun part. All right, you got it in your bottle. You've aged it to where you like it, to what you want. So now you want to put it in the bottle. So what do you need on that bottle label? Well, a lot of times I like to give things names sometimes. So, of course, you want to have the name of what you're calling it on the label, on the bottle, what it is, the date. Now, I like to use, and this is my personal preference, I date stuff as when it's complete, and I put it in the bottle. That's when I like it. ABV or proof, or both. And any other information that you might want on that bottle so that you can give information to yourself or other people. Like double oaked things. I've made some stuff that's double oaked or roasted corn bourbon or whatever information you want to put on that label that you want to get out there. All right. Woo! We're getting almost done. We're almost done. Now here's the real fun part. What can we use as labels? Well, this is a loaded question. All right, number one, you can just use a Sharpie and write on the glass if you want. That's my least, because that's one thing else I got to clean up, but that's one of my least things. Now, the next the next thing I had, you could use a hang tag. You know, like the yellow tag with the wire on it. You could hang that on there. Then you could transfer it from one thing to the next. But you take the chance of losing it too. Now, here's one thing that I use a lot of is painter's tape. You can write on there. You can put what you want on there. Extremely cheap. Right, all you need is a roll that lasts you a long time and a Sharpie to write on there. You can put any kind of information you want on there. So that is a very good option that I use a lot of, and it is very nice. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to say is, and I got these made up. My wife made them up for me. These are just the Avery shipping labels. And if you notice, I'll bring it up so you can see it. You see that? Stillworks and Brewing, what spirit it is, the proof, ABV, and the date. Yeah, and these are just individual stickers. And I just have these there in the drawer, so whenever I need to slap one on a bottle, I can go that route. You know, that works out really well for me. All right. But, I got it right. There is one that we've made, and that is our SWBT. It's the distilled sweet tea. If you look back at a few videos when we made that, all right, you can go on Avery mailing labels, right? They got them all different size. This one is the size of 6 different labels on there. You can check it out whichever way you want, and it's a free service where you can design your label on their site, and it's free. It don't cost you a cent except for these labels, the blank ones. And these work out real well. You can put whatever information you want on there, and that is the label for that bottle right there. It looks really nice, and when I give that away to somebody, it really looks cool. And it's got all the information on it. It's got the name, what it is. It's got the proof and the date it was bottled, right? So that's beautiful. Laura did a nice job on that. So that is our SWBT. SWBT. That has a ring to it. You know that? All right. So that is labels and bottles. I hope you got a little bit of information out of that. One of the big things that we like the product that we make, but we like to share it too. And you know, when it looks good, you know, you got that label stuck on there, and you can also do a second label with any kind of story or something about how it's made or what it's made or whatever the case may be. You can have a back label too. That would work out fantastic. Okay, so that is bottles and labels. Something is a lot of people don't put very much thought into it. All right, so I would suggest getting that Avery program. It's not really a program. You just you buy the labels. You can buy them online. You can buy them in an office supply store, and then you just go online and get the program from Avery. And what else am I thinking? Am I missing anything? Anyway, you make a nice looking drink. Here's some other real little labels, sticky labels. You know, they're only that big. You can put on there. All right. But don't forget to label. One of the biggest things, and I've said this 1,000 times, is you're going to swear that you remember what that was. And then you're going to turn around and you're going to forget. I do, and I know a lot of people do. So make sure you label it up. And save your bottles. You know, save your used bottles. I mean, I got screw tops. They work fine. I think, if I ain't mistaken, that's a Jack Daniel's bottle, I think. Right? I mean, they're all different shapes and sizes of bottles and lids and all that good stuff. All right, well, I guess that's enough yakking for me today. I guess the last thing I got to say is, hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time here on Stillworks and Brewing. Cheers, everybody.